So the chancellor has just laid out the autumn budget. And like always, there's really only one question on everyone's mind. What on earth does this mean for my wallet? Right, let's get into it and break down exactly what's going on.
Because that's the bottom line, isn't it? When all the dust settles, are you actually going to have more cash in your pocket or less? That's the question we're going to try and answer.
All right, let's kick things off with the good stuff. The big headline announcements that are really designed to give a bit of an immediate boost to millions of people. First up, for the UK's 13 million pensioners, there's a 4.8% rise coming to the state pension. This is all down to that triple lock policy, which basically means the pension goes up by whatever is highest, inflation, wage growth, or 2.5%. And this year, wage growth was the winner.
And it's not just pensioners. Starting in April 2026, the national minimum wage is also set for a bump. We're talking a 4.1% increase for anyone aged 21 and over.
So what do those percentages actually look like in pounds and pence? Well, you can see it right here. For someone on the new state pension, that's about an extra 11 quid a week. And for a full-time worker on minimum wage, this works out to roughly £900 more over a year. On the face of it, that sounds pretty good, right?
But, and you knew there was a but coming, these pay rises are happening against the backdrop of another government policy, a much quieter one, that could end up taking a lot of that extra cash right back.
And this really gets to the heart of it. A pay rise is one thing, but what really matters is how much of it you actually get to keep. And this is where it all gets a little bit tricky. Don't just take my word for it. The founder of money-saving expert Martin Lewis, he puts it brilliantly. He calls this a stealth tax. It's a way for the tax man to take more of your money without ever actually announcing a tax rate hike. Okay, so here's how it works. The government has frozen the income levels, or thresholds, where you start paying tax and where you start paying the higher rates. They're frozen solid until 2031. So as your pay goes up, even just to keep up with prices, more of your money gets dragged over these fixed lines. It means you're taxed on a bigger chunk of your earnings, and some people get pushed into a higher tax bracket altogether. Now, to understand why the government is doing this, we need to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger economic picture, the one that this whole budget is built on. And that picture comes from the Office for Budget Responsibility, or the OBR. Think of them as the economy's independent doctor. They give the public finances a full health check with no political spin. And honestly, their latest report shows the patient is facing some serious challenges. For a start, the OBR has become more pessimistic about how productive the UK economy can be. They've actually cut their forecast for productivity growth from 1.3% down to just 1%. Now, that might sound a bit technical, but trust me, it's a huge deal. Productivity is the secret sauce for a healthy economy and higher wages for everyone. And of course, lower productivity has a direct knock-on effect. The OBR now thinks the entire economy will grow more slowly than they did back in March. That little change you see on the chart might not look like much, but over a few years, it adds up to billions and billions of pounds in lost economic growth. So you've got this situation, right? The chancellor is basically walking a tightrope. On one side, you have a weaker, slower-growing economy, and on the other, you have this enormous pile of national debt. How enormous? Well, get ready for this number. The OBR predicts that by the end of the decade, the UK's total national debt will be worth 96% of our entire economy's output for a whole year. And to put that into context, that is not normal. It's about double the average for other major economies like ours. A debt pile that big makes it harder to borrow in a crisis and means we're spending a fortune on interest payments instead of on things like schools and hospitals. And look, these aren't just numbers plucked out of thin air for political reasons. This is the cold, hard, independent assessment from the 3 people on the OBR's top committee who literally signed their names to this stark reality. So after all of that, let's bring it all back home. What does this complicated picture really mean for your money? What's the personal takeaway here? Well, when you boil it all down, it's really a tale of two halves. On one side, you have the give, those definite cash boosts for some. But on the other side, you have the take, that long-term stealth tax squeeze that affects pretty much everyone. And all of this is happening in this really tough economic environment, with slow growth and massive debt limiting what any government can really do. Which I think leaves us all with one final big question to chew on. Are these immediate little wins really worth the longer-term financial squeeze and the difficult economic road ahead?
That's the real tightrope walk at the heart of this budget, and it's one we're all going to be feeling for years to come.